Hello, my wonderful little collections of bones. It's me, GlassLotuses, your friendly and mildly eerie digital artist, writer, and cat lover. How are you doing this evening? I hope you've had a pleasant day. Given the recent changes another particular video platform has been making, I wanted to try and expand my reach a bit, and thought that given how people say my voice is calming, I might try my hand at longer form content here, leaning specifically into more calming tones. I'm going for more ASMR vibes here, so hopefully I hit the mark. Today I want to talk about who I am, how I got here, and this lovely character I drew 3 years ago. If you happen to hear any wind or rain in the background, there's currently a storm passing through as I record this, so hopefully it adds to the ambiance instead of distracts from it. Without further ado, let's begin. So, who am I? If you're new here and haven't seen my work elsewhere, I am the artist and writer for The Right Hand of Death, a fantasy story and webcomic that follows a necromancer princess and her would-be assassin friend in their attempts to bring back the gods, whom have all perished about a millennium before. I've been posting about this story and its characters for almost a decade now on various platforms. Growing up, I would always doodle and daydream in class. Despite my parents' best wishes, I would stealthily stay up late at night writing in spiral-bound notebooks by the light of a tiny nightlight. If they came upstairs, I would quickly unplug the nightlight and stash my book and the light under my pillows. Given that at 9 years old, one really should be sleeping after 10 p.m. I doubt I was half as stealthy as I imagined, but I managed to fill many spiral-bound books with stories and cover a lot of my classwork with drawings. At one point, my mom told me that I should honestly just carry blank paper to school so that my art at least wouldn't be overlaying lined paper. I later started using a website called Rate My Drawings, which was my first dive into digital art. I started that around the age of 12, but didn't feel I was good enough to do character art, so I stuck mostly to abstract work. Only once I was 15 and showed my art to my partner did someone give me the push to move to an actual art program. My partner suggested I use GIMP, which was free and easily accessible. With some convincing, I made the switch and my skills quickly expanded, but the program was of course a bit underpowered, so I also quickly moved to using Paint Tool Sai, which I then used for years after. I started with DeviantArt once I had made that switch, but I still didn't feel like my skills were good enough to draw the characters that lived in my head. So I mostly drew other characters, D&D art primarily. Around that time, I also started writing the very first version of the book. I wrote well over 300 pages before stopping. I also drew the first few pages of the first webcomic version, but because I lacked confidence and it did not look like how I wanted, I stopped. I then spent several years doing D&D art commissions and honing my character art skills, until finally in 2020 I joined TikTok and started recording and posting myself drawing and talking about all the characters that inhabit the world of this story. And I started writing again and posting that to Patreon, where I now have a book and a half of work-in-progress chapters. The people on TikTok also pushed me to make a webcomic version again, so I did. In October of 2021, I launched The Right Hand of Death webcomic on Webtoon. So while working a full-time job and commuting 3 hours a day, I ended up making 2 TikToks a week, a Webtoon post every 10 days, and writing a book chapter every 2 weeks. And unsurprisingly, I burned myself out. As TikTok started to make platform changes about a year ago, my content became deprioritized and my motivation began to wane. In around July, I lost all motivation to post and dropped off of all platforms. Now I've been coming back and trying to find how I want to continue. I realized webcomics really aren't how I want to spend my time. As much as I love the end result, I was really only producing about 2 chapters worth a year. I can write the story so much faster than I can draw it. My plan is to focus my efforts on writing and high-render individual art, as well as making video content to show it off. So let's see how I can start here. Alright, enough about me and my journey. Let's talk about the story. The Right Hand of Death is about Saynna, who is the center of the drawing I'm working on now. The Lysiths are the royal family of the country of Lysithia. Lizithia as a whole runs on necromancy, and their royal family are literally descendants of the god of life and death. As such, the Lysiths have a myriad of necromancer and death-based abilities. Aside from being descended from the god of death, the Lysith family also holds the remnants of his soul. A little over 1,000 years prior to our story, the gods fought and tore each other apart, until all that was left of each of them were the damaged and unconscious remnants of their souls. Their energy scattered across the world and imbued people, places, and things with their magic types. Their souls similarly attached to people, places, and things and gave them each special powers. The god of death, however, was the last god standing, and rather than shatter like the others did, his power faded until he could no longer maintain a physical form. His body perished, but his soul passed on to a descendant whom he had fathered in the mortal world. That descendant went on to start a civil war and break off part of the human kingdom to form what is now Lizithia, the necromancy kingdom. The death god's soul flows down the Lysith family line. When the member who currently holds it passes away, their next eldest descendant receives the soul. As it passes from keeper to keeper, each person gets a special power and a mark. The marks all generally are dark blue areas of their bodies, which allow you to see into their bones, and their bones glow a light pale blue from within. In certain cases, organs and structures such as the heart or eyeballs can also be seen. Saynna's mark is on her hand, but she often covers it with a glove when in public. Her ability is such that the first time she touches a new person's skin with that hand, she physically is subjected to the pain of how they will die. In the beginning, she can't quite control this, and she strives to master it and build upon it as the story goes on. It's not quite the most pleasant of abilities, but it does come with a bit of future knowledge, which can, of course, be quite valuable. Now let's talk about what I'm actually drawing here in the background. This particular drawing is one I did back in March of 2021, shortly after I had started posting to TikTok. So it was one of the first drawings I had actually recorded. Given that, I wasn't quite used to staying more still to get longer sped up cuts for TikTok, so this might actually work better here on YouTube as it's a bit slower. At this point, I was using Paint Tool Sai for most of my art, and then supporting it with Photoshop for some of the more complex brushes and editing. I switched to Clip Studio a while after this, so this is a bit of an older version of my process. My art, of course, was 3 years less developed than it is now, so looking back it's not quite as good as my current art, but I do really like how this one turned out, and I love the concept. The original concept for this piece just came from my own desire to draw her reanimating a mythical creature. Unicorns are kind of both threatening given their horn, but also viewed as peaceful and very mystical, so I thought it would make a cool creature to reanimate. I wanted to have a lot of plants hanging off of it, but was a bit limited on what I can do due to my skills. I ended up incorporating this unicorn into my second writing of this story, into chapter 5, I think it was, because I liked it so much. Another big concept in this drawing is the tombstone she's sitting on. Within the kingdom of Lizithia, tombstones are actually pretty rare, as most of the bodies of dead citizens are instead used for labor, and when not in use, they're housed in ornate mausoleums. This tombstone, however, is the tombstone for the god of death himself, and the body he left behind when his soul transferred to his descendant. I wrote a poem on it, and I must admit I am not much of a poet, and I know most of it is covered, but here it goes. What mortal could conceive that death himself should die, and be interred within the ground upon which life does thrive? I struggled quite a bit with background here, probably because I didn't quite have the knowledge or tools to do non-character art at this point. I've gotten a lot better at landscapes like this, but of course I still have room to improve. I really should redraw this one at some point. This is how it turned out though in the end, and I do really like it even though I've grown a lot. Let me know what you think, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Have a wonderful night. Thank you for listening to my ramblings about my character and myself. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you're interested in learning more about this story, the world, and the characters within it, please like and subscribe.